Welcome to my podcast, All Things Agriculture. I'm your host, Carey, and thank you for tuning in. On this podcast, get to know those who work in agriculture on a daily basis. Find out what they do, the challenges and opportunities they face, and what they think the future holds for agriculture. You'll also have a chance to hear what they do for fun when they aren't working hard to feed the world. If you're watching on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel and leaving a thumbs up and a comment below. If you prefer the audio version, you can listen for free on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. And if you'd like to get in contact with me, please email me at allthingsagr@gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, All Things Agriculture. Thanks for joining myself and Paul today. Paul, how are you doing?
I am doing stellar. How are you?
Great to see you. Thanks for coming out and doing this.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
So, anyway, I guess really no updates. I guess if you follow the channel on YouTube, I've been putting some little clips up, 15 or 20 minute clips. Kind of breaking up episodes. So if people want to watch a little, chunk instead of watching the whole hour and a half, you can catch a little chunk. And if you like what you hear, you can listen to the whole thing. And of course, in every episode, I have everything broken down in the description so you can kind of jump around as you please. And on Spotify, I'm just putting the whole episode up. I'm not putting any clips up. So if you want to hear the clips, you can go on YouTube. Like I said, it's all there in the whole episode. But if you want to just hear broken down pieces, that's where you can find it. So anyway, I guess that's any little updates I have. And I guess I'll turn over to you, Paul. Paul, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll get the ball rolling.
All right. Well, Paul Gier. I work for Tompkins County Soil and Water Conservation District here in Tompkins County. Work with all the agricultural landowners, a.k.a. farmers in the county. Love being a guest here, Eric. Thanks so much. We worked on projects together. I've known your farm family for a long time, and it's always a pleasure, always an honor to be here and working with you, and so awesome to see your farm grow. I don't know if the audience knows, but or if you even remember, and I don't want to date myself, but we had one of our first or second Tompkins County Farm City Days here on your farm. Yep. And it was when the your big freestall, I think, was first built. It was pretty fresh, pretty new. It might be 1992, maybe 1993. Was the year? The parlor was built in 93. I remember our first Farm City Day. I think it was the third annual. That was in 99 or 2000. We hosted it, but it was relatively pretty new. Yeah. Have you had one or two Farm City Days here?
I've had two.
Two? Well, I think I was part of the first one.
So were you working for Soil and Water? Or how were you involved with the Farm City Day playback?
So I was involved. I was working with NYSEG at the time as an ag engineer, ag representative, and part of the Ag Farmland Protection Board Committee of Tompkins County. And we were working also with Cornell Cooperative Extension and wanted to promote agriculture. And we were kicking ideas around, how do we do that? And after a little research what other counties do, we realized, this Farm City Day is a great concept. And so we put that together and had our second one. Our first one was at the time Linloo Farms.
Yep.
Louis Studdles.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're in Groton.
Right. And then the second year, I think, was here. And then we had one over on Hates Road. We went over to the west side of the lake. And I'm trying to think of the farm's name over there, drawing a blank right now. But this was either the second or third Farm City Day that was hosted back in the day. So,
yeah. So I didn't realize you were involved directly with getting that all up and running then.
Yeah.
With the ag. Yep. That was started by the ag, what'd you say? What board?
Oh, Ag Farmland Protection Board.
That was, that's where it was all, the conception of it was then?
Yeah.
Was through that board. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we were trying to think, how do we promote agriculture? And we were all kind of given a little homework assignment. Hey, go knock on some doors, go see what's going on. And down in Tioga County, they were having the same kind of thing, Farm City Day type, where folks from the city or non-farm population could come out to a farm and get tours, talk to the farmer, just experience a lot of what farming's all about. And, anytime you incorporate ice cream, Eric, and a hayride, people are going to have a good time.
Yeah, they were pretty successful. The first ones were really, really successful, weren't they? I mean, they were. Did they kind of run their course after a bit of time, you think?
I think people, got used to it. I mean, the first one we had was about 700 to 800 attendees. Wow. And then the second one was over 1,000. And then the third one right around 1,000. And then the fourth and fifth, tailed down, but still very popular. I think towards the end we were still getting 500-600 people, and I could be wrong at that. I was just a volunteer, working at it, and you make your rough guess, rough estimate, but still it was very, very popular. And then I think we took a little break from it. At least my career changed a little bit. I went into the gas construction side of NYSEG and lost touch a little bit with the Farm City Day group, and then I know they had open farm days, which you would take a series of farms and open them up on the same day, same hours, and then you could go tour. You could come to a dairy farm like this, or you could go to maybe a grain farm if you were interested in grain, or someone who's using sheep, making yogurt, an orchard, and there'd be several open. So the format changed a little bit.
Yeah, I think I think it was 3 years ago we were involved in that, and they split it, the lake.
Yeah.
The east side, west side. I think the east side was like a Saturday, the west side was a Sunday.
Right.
And there was like a dozen farms on each side. And then the next year they flopped it. The east side was on a Sunday and the west side was on a Saturday. But you couldn't visit. How would it work? I think I was talking to Monica Roth, and she said people want to like hit everything, but it'd be like physically impossible because you basically would stop in and you have to because there's so many farms on the list. It was all very unique, different types of it, which is cool.
Yeah,
because people have a different variety, and they can depending on where they live, they can hit up whatever spot they want.
Exactly. Yep. So I liked it when we had just the one farm. I'll call it the Farm City Day, because you had so many of the cooperators, the people that you work with on your farm. You'd have the veterinarian, you'd have feed sales, of course your farm staff of your family. Maybe some of the contractors who built some of the buildings. Everybody came to the farm, and it was like one-stop shopping. So, if people say they had a question really specific maybe to cattle health, the vet was there with a couple of techs, and, they were explaining how, cows are bred, with artificial insemination and their equipment. And it just, when you see the kids' eyes just as big as dinner plates, they're just so fascinated. You got a great deal. You got a great show going. So yeah. Like to see that happen again.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole COVID, it kind of shut a lot of that down. But you think it's going to come back? Are you still involved much with that?
Well, we haven't discounted it. We haven't put it away. Certainly, COVID, changed a lot. But I think once we get past and not this year, but I'm thinking next year, we might revitalize it, might revamp it, and try another Farm City Day, which maybe. I would be all in favor of.
I would be too. I think maybe people being so kind of shut inside for so long might help. Right. People might want to, something different. It hasn't happened in a few years, so it's kind of it seems like a fresher idea.
Yeah. But, and anytime you can get people with hands on agriculture, when you can get kids. One thing we always had, which was cool, you have those kiddie pools, and you fill it with grain corn.
Yeah.
Just kernel corn. And kids can just scoop at it and run their hands through it or flop right in it and roll around in it. You got the hay jump, and certainly petting a calf or a cow. Anytime you get your hands on agriculture, you take that hay ride and you bump along the laneway and bouncing around on the bale of hay there, and just, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. And I think it removes a lot of removes a lot of people's perceptions, perhaps, and gives them a reality of ag and what it's all about. So, I'd like to see that come back. I really would.
I think it's always good to get people on, as long as the farm wants to do it, have people come out and see it.
Right.
Get the information directly from the farmer.
Right.
People, we've all said the same story. It's people don't know where their food comes from, and
they don't.
I'm sure you working with Cooperative Extension over the years, and I don't know, even with NYSEG. So you said you said the agricultural sector of NYSEG in the very beginning. Is that what you did, like right out of school, or what? I guess.
Graduated from Cornell, and of course wanted to stay in the area. I mean, the Finger Lakes, it's beautiful. The diversity of agriculture, it's heaven here. I mean, that's just spend a summer here, and you'll understand. So at the time, NYSEG had an agricultural representative in every division, and there were 13 divisions in New York. And I was very fortunate to get the position of agricultural representative, agricultural engineer for we weren't broken up by counties. It was just the Ithaca division, and being in Ithaca, all of Tompkins County was part of my area of responsibility. So I had the privilege of doing that job for the first 11 years, working for NYSEG. So that's how I got to know your farm and a lot of the surrounding farms.
So would you go out and try to work with farms on how to become more energy efficient, or putting in like kind of like the NYSERDA stuff that they do now?
Exactly. Yeah, we would do energy audits. We would look at lighting. We had there was a big rebate program for energy efficient lighting for reducing the load in New York State at the time, and agriculture was a good chunk of the load for processing. And the idea was as energy efficient as we can make the farms, that could offset future power plant building. Making more megawatts, getting more megawatts, acquiring more megawatts. So that was the first part of my career. So that's how my introduction to Tompkins County agriculture got started.
Okay, are you from Tompkins County, or where are you from originally?
So I'm originally from Binghamton, Broome County, just to the south. How this journey got started was when I was little. When I was 3, my aunt and uncle had a produce farm and small livestock, and I loved going there, loved working. So when I was I lived there for the first 5 years of my life. My parents rented a house from them. And the first time, my uncle set me up on that tractor, and we were cultivating corn, and you look out and you got the rows of corn coming past you. And this was mechanical cultivation, with the front cultivator sweeps. I mean, I was like hooked. It's like, man, why would you want to do anything else in life when you can farm it? When you can do this? What else is there, man? So and then of course baling hay for the livestock. It was just. It gets in your blood. It just gets in your veins. The fresh air, the work, the real reward from working the land and working with livestock. So it stuck with me. So I decided I wanted to study ag engineering. So I went to Cornell is the lead school. So I first started at SUNY Cobleskill. Went to SUNY Cobleskill for 2 years, and then transferred to Cornell. Finished up at Cornell, and then again, just being in the area in the Finger Lakes, and my parents would come up, and I'd take them on tours of the area, and it was a no-brainer. It's like, gotta stay here. This is heaven up here. So so that's kind of my background and how it all started, and that's why I like Farmall tractors. So I'm gonna put that plug in.
You're a Farmall guy.
I'm a Farmall guy. I think everyone should know that.
You got your Farmall red on, I see.
Yeah.
You don't want a John Deere green.
Yeah. So lesson number 1: when you go to a farm, eye the equipment and see how they roll, and that's when you come back, you wear the appropriate attire. Okay. So when I come to this farm, and That's what I love. You're all Case IH. You're red. It's me. Yeah, that's what you're gonna find.
You aren't gonna offend anyone.
Not gonna offend anyone. Yeah, but like when I go over and talk to Adam Buck, they're over at Buck Farms. They're all John Deere. Mm-hmm. So I gotta support the John Deere. You're on their farm. You gotta. You're in their church, man.
You're in their domain.
You're in their domain.
We actually used to own a piece of John Deere equipment. It was a small square baler.
Oh yeah.
And we had that for years. And
214, 14T. That's probably going back to.
Oh, I cannot.
Maybe
remember
a 346.
That sounds.
Yeah.
That sounds.
Probably
right.
a 346.
Has the kicker didn't have like the shoe had a kicker, all that.
Was that the hydraulic pan kicker? It would come out, hit it, and then.
Yeah. Had the hydraulic pan.
Yep. Yep. Good machine.
Yeah.
Good tool.
It was a lot of bales to that. Stacked a lot of hay away, but then.
Yeah.
I went to college, or I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that work? Basically, we bought a round baler, and over the course of 5 to 10 years, we just slowly got away from the square balers. And it's kind of ironic. My dad sent the square baler out to some Mennonites out in Western New York to get it all refurbished.
Right.
Brought it back, baled some bales that following summer, and then sold it.
No, really.
But it was a great baler. It worked really well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all the baler, all the wagons traded in, got different equipment. But
and isn't that amazing how agriculture, how things progress?
Oh.
I mean, I talked about standing on that farm, all 230 tractor cultivating corn, and now, I mean, look at the size of the equipment and how we're handling it, and how our cultivation and weed control programs have changed. I mean, it's just, to me, the thing I like. Agriculture incorporates, you have to know your biologies, chemistry, carpentry. You have to be an electrician. I mean, it takes in so many great professions, doesn't it? Mechanic. It's like a playground for your mind to explore all. You can find a passion in it.
Oh, for sure.
There's something there that'll really grab them. Like, this is what I want to do, man. It's good stuff.
And the cool thing is you can, because you're working the land, or you can really experiment.
Yeah.
With, and that's how a lot of these technologies of, what do you think, like strip tilling, no till.
Right. Yeah. I never heard of those growing up. Like what?
I don't think, I guarantee, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure it's someone had a grain drill and said, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, made it, and then the dealer said, that's a good idea. Who told me that? Someone told me that they worked for Cornell, or they worked for a dealership, something. This wasn't that long ago, and they basically said, well, it really comes down to it. Usually the farmers are the innovators, and they really make the prototypes, and then we kind of see what you're doing, and a few years later, we'll like invest money into it to see if it's worthwhile. At us, we can something we can scale.
I can totally see that.
But yeah, I mean, I
totally see that.
It's I think a lot of these technologies come along, or farmer,
there's no doubt,
created.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even take like a milking system company like Sidec. They create all that, all that new technology and boxes that they use. All that stuff is done in house at Sidec. A lot of those, they're on the farm. They see what works, what doesn't work, and they, it's not like they're going out and hiring in some crazy Silicon Valley person come and construct and build these awesome control boxes that can do everything
right
on a farm. If you have them, you know what I mean. But it's it's a lot of it's on farm innovation, which is incredible.
You know what you want, and you know what you want to do, and or what you don't want to do, and you'll start experimenting. Necessity is the mother of invention. And it's like, this would really work so much better if I could only do this. And you open up the mental toolbox and get to thinking and rigging, and there it is, a prototype.
Yeah, it might be kind of a shabby looking prototype, but if it works, it works.
Henry Ford invented the car because he hated feeding and cleaning up after horses.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how it rolls.
Yeah. I don't want to go back to those days.
No,
I'm glad I never had to.
No.
I know my dad always said, my grandpa told my dad's dad always said, like one of the greatest days of his life was the day he left the horse in the barn and got to take the tractor out.
Can you imagine how liberating that was? And how much the efficiency gain, anything like that. I mean, you could just park it when you were done with it, and it was done.
Yeah,
you could go to another task. That was just huge.
If you don't realize, like, you're supposed to like brush them down. There's a whole litany of things you're supposed to do after you're done working with the horse. And
exactly, yeah.
And then what if the horse is sick?
It doesn't get done.
It doesn't work. Yeah,
exactly.
Or if it gets freaked out by it sees something off in the woods, or
it takes off running. Yeah, how do you control it? I mean, tractor's got a kill switch. Click.
Yeah.
It won't run away on you.
Now we complain because the tractor won't fire up in 10 below zero. Now you don't plug it in. Now you can plug it in or something. Or
right.
She's old enough, you give her a little snort of ether, but
that's right. Yeah,
you can't do it with a horse. Yeah, it's like you said, invention is necessity.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, that is the truest words ever said.
Exactly. And there's things, so in the farm days, when I used to go to farm days back in the 70s, geez, I'm dating myself, but anyway, the big thing was who could pull the most plows. Every and this is back when you had Oliver, Ellis, Chalmers, Case, Ford. I mean, they were all separate companies. Of course, you had International Harvester and John Deere, White. Every one of their lots, they'd have their biggest tractor with 5, 6, 7, 8 bottom plows, and that's how they wowed and wanted to. That's how they marketed capacity, production. How much can you do? And now when you go up to farm days, it's hard to find anyone with moldboard plows because now we're focusing on. We really should be focusing on our soil health. And is this type of tillage good for our soils? Maybe we should drop back and, so now we're seeing, as you were saying, the strip tillage and the conservation tillage, maybe no-till. It's just, somebody's decided there's got to be a better way. What more can I do, right, for the efficiency and the health of my crop, soil, feed, the whole thing?
I think it's kind of a good segue into now some of what you do now with soil and water. You work with grants and for soil health, cover crops. Is there anything there's nothing with like reduced tillage or anything? It's more or less just cover crops.
No, you can find grants. So I think what's important to know is, so we don't have we don't have the money or the grant. We go seek these grants. So there are certain grants that come out that are tailored to, devoted to soil and water districts. The big one, our workhorse, I call it, are the Ag Non-Point Source grants. They come out basically every year, and they're the big pot grant. Now, all the soil and water districts, we working with our farms, we go out and we identify, okay, where do we have erosion issues, nutrient loss? Where can we optimize the nutrient into the ground, or looking at grazing systems? And we put all of our projects together. And then what we do is we try and match them to the grants that come out. And there's several grants that come out. So you mentioned cover crops. The cover crop grant that we're working with currently is from Ag Non-Point 26, round 26, where we got $2 million out of this big fund to work with local farms here in Tompkins County, Cayuga County, and Seneca County, where it'll be for 3 years. And we're going to look at cover cropping and the effects on increasing and improving the soil health and the cropping systems for farms. So that's an example of one kind of grant that is out there. And again, we had to go apply for it. It's competitive. Other soil and water districts are coming to the same trough.
So is there a soil and water district in each county?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is. Yep. And we all have projects that we want to see get in place. And I don't know how I don't know what the screening is, but we all submit our projects and request for a grant, and it goes to Ag and Markets, and then they screen through and they read all these projects, and they look at, okay, what would be, I'll call, for lack of a better term, the best bang for the buck. If we install this $1 million manure storage fund, this will have an effect on 1,500 acres, and it'll be under a comprehensive nutrient management program where the right amount at the right time at the right rate will be applied to the land. And I'm guessing at that, but it's basically a filter system of what projects get awarded, and many different projects do get awarded: covered barnyards, manure storages, cover cropping grants, a lot of grazing projects will get funded. So there's the Agnon Point. Then there's also more, I call them more local grants, like the FLOPA grant, which is more Finger Lake, Owasco Lake, Cayuga Lake oriented, Seneca Lake oriented. Some of those monies come to us. The nice thing about those is they're a smaller grant. They're a much smaller grant, but they come to us and we get to pick the projects to apply them to.
Oh, okay.
I don't have to compete with other districts for it, because they're going to get their own little FLOPA grant to work with. Sometimes we get grants that come out of, we just don't know they're coming, like the STAPE grant, and which your farm here, you built that beautiful new heifer barn with that STAPE grant. I mean, golly, we never saw that coming, and what a great grant that was to help a lot of farms do different projects. And there's grant monies from, if you're in the Upper Susquehanna Coalition watershed, there's some monies there you can apply for basically grazing, nutrient management planning, cover cropping. There's money there. So I would encourage anyone, call your local soil and water district office, cooperative extension, and network. Find out what's out there.
Is that the best way on people who are on farm listening and they want to do a project or they aren't sure? Just call your
local soil and water district office, or call cooperative extension, call USDA, call NRCS. These are just great companion agencies we work with, and we work together with other agencies. Call a local. I would say we work with Jessica Skinner, who's a ag engineer who works with us, and she's got great ideas too. We work with Aaron Weiss, another local great engineer on projects. Always network. Reach out and network. Somebody can find an answer.
Yeah.
Or give you a path to go on.
And for the people who never grew up on a farm or don't even know what a soil water district is, it's basically you guys are the ones who help implement taxpayer dollars go to help implement best management practices and environmental improvements on farm. Help make clean water, clean soil, base soil water, clean soil. Everything is engineered. I think sometimes people don't realize that there's an engineer involved in all of this. It's all done to spec. We did it just at a manure project, and we have blueprints, and everything is spec to. You can throw a bomb in the thing and it won't blow. I mean, it's built heavy duty. Everything is. So it's
you want the money buying a good quality product.
Oh yeah,
too. And most important, when we're done and we leave, we want a successful project for you.
Yeah,
we want it to work for you. We're done. We drive away. Well, that's you have to live with it, and it has to be an asset to your farm and your operation. And every goal of projects that all the soil and water districts work on, we want to see success, and we want to see your life better. We want to see the water cleaner, or might be an issue of reduced erosion, increasing the soil health on the farm. It's a success for everybody.
I guess too, I'd like to when someone's going to build a manure project, I think that's kind of there's a lot of misinformation about how you go about it. You read articles, people think that the manure, it's going to fail, it's going to leach. Can maybe you clear up, like, what's the process? Someone comes to you, says, I want to build a manure project. What kind of go through the steps so people realize there's a lot of.
Oh, there is, yeah.
There's a lot of safety guards put. You don't just go out in there and throw something up and you're done in a week. There's a long multi-year process typically.
So certainly we go out to the farm, get eyes on the ground, see what you got going on. We got to know what type of livestock are we dealing with, how many, what the sizes, what type of product, what type of manure are we working with? What's your farming operation? How are you going to apply this manure? Okay, once we capture it, what are you going to do after you've stored it? How are you going to apply it? Is that practical? Then we would contact. I get in touch with my engineer, or an engineer. We say, hey, do you have time to work with us on this project? Also ask the farm, do you have a nutrient management plan in place? If not, it's always good to get one, because we got to know, how big is the storage going to be? What are all the waste streams, I'll call it, on the farm, from not just manure, but milk house wash waste, younger stock. It's not just the milking dairy cows, it's the young stock, the heifers. All that's going to get collected as well. What volume are we talking? And then what's the nutrient value of it? So it's always good to have the nutrient planner involved with that as well. So we start putting all that information together, and then talking with the farm. Okay, were you thinking of locating it? Location's a big issue too. You mentioned a good one about making sure they don't leak. So what style of storage do you want? There's the above ground big blue slurry stores. It's approved. There's concrete, an all concrete structure. That's an NRCS approved structure as well. There's also what could be, we call them earthen storages, which is where you excavate the earth into a pond containment system, and they do have to be lined, either clay or a non-permeable PE membrane, which is like a plastic membrane, which is a liner. And then there's different styles of that. Will it have a concrete bottom? How do you bed? What type of manure are we talking? If it's sand, we're probably going to work with you to design something different than if you were bedding with sawdust. Do you want to cover and flare the methane gas coming off the storage? If that's the case, we can look at maybe building something that might be a little bit smaller, because now we're not going to be capturing ambient rainfall.
Yeah, it's another thing. Rainfall, you have to calculate that in as well.
Some of these storages are 25 to 30% larger than they need to be, because we're blessed with so much rainfall in this area, especially with climate change. And that could be a whole other podcast, with the increasing rainfall we're seeing in our area. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And then of course it gets engineered, and you're having conversations all the time with the farm. Do we take this into account? Also working with the manure handler, like for yourself, you might go with a company that's going to come in and spread that manure for you in the spring, because you're going to do something different. Maybe you've always surface spread with a manure spreader of some kind. Now you want to inject it and do a drag line operation, and that, you might have a custom operator do that for you. So, we've designed the perfect storage, and here it is, just fantastic. And we've put it right in between the three barns, let's say, because that's where all the manure is going to go. And then the manure processor, the manure handler, comes in and says, how do I get my truck in here? Where do I pump from? Oops.
Yeah.
There's so many players that really need to come to the table, and because somebody's going to have a great suggestion, or somebody's going to say, well, don't forget about turnaround.
Yeah.
Or where I
get
tractor trailer, where do I get the tractor in? If I want to just haul to it, and I want to just dump manure into it, you got to have some kind of a turnaround and accommodation. So all that goes into the engineering. Then the engineer would draw it up after everybody's kind of passed their blessing on it, like, yep, this will work.
That takes 6+ months lots of times. That whole planning probably, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely,
or over a year.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a lot of thought.
And you can time into that it doesn't have to be certainly the size. We have to know, when we make application for the grant, we have to know the size of it, how many animal units are going into it, the length of time of storage. That's another thing. How long of storage do you want? Now, with our grants, state of New York builds only 6 months or more of storage. Like, you couldn't say, well, Paul, we just want 3 months of storage. I can't help cost share that, because the state tells us 6 months minimum storage. So that'll deter you. You might say, Paul, we want it for a year, just in case. Just in case we want a year's worth of storage. Well, there's a big difference from a 6-month storage to a year's storage in size and cost. So I have to know going for the grant, okay, what's the general cost of this project? Because there's no sense getting a grant for $100,000 if the storage is going to cost $1 million.
Yeah.
And then you got to come up with $900,000. I mean, and then there's on the other side when you go, and like I said, these grants are competitive. So if I just wildly guess and say I'm going to go for $900,000, but let's say the storage after engineered and it gets bid to contractor, they say, yeah, this is a $600,000 storage. I might have shot myself in the foot trying to get $800,000 and not be competitive and not get anything when I could have gone just for $500,000, $600,000, and maybe got the grant and the storage. We could build it and get it done. So there's a lot of things in that. There's a lot of consideration. So
yeah, and typically, what is it? 70 to 75% the grant will cover. So if you had
we go up to 75%.
So there's let's say it costs $1 million, which isn't out of the question. A lot of them,
no, it's not.
It doesn't have to be a big project to hit $1 million.
Right.
You would cover $750,000. The farmer would be roughly cover the remainder.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even talk about it. You have transfer lines.
There's transfer system. You got to get it from the barn to the storage. Yeah. So you have to determine where is the storage. Is it above? Is the elevation going to be higher than the elevation of where I'm trying to send it from? That takes all different kinds of equipment versus equipment used if the storage is at a lower elevation, topography speaking, than the farmstead. So there's going to be different types of equipment in there moving that manure, and what's the slurry of the manure? What's the consistency, the viscosity? What am I trying to move? I mean, that's all different considerations.
Yeah, it's not like pumping water.
No, it's not. It is not. Correct.
Well, that's where you even get sometimes if people run into trouble, you hear them talking about separating. You can separate manure.
You can.
You know that, yeah.
Yep,
and then you basically you retain the solids and you can bed with them or spread them on your field as just a dry solid, and you're just pumping water, basically effluent water at that point.
And the water's got the nutrient in it, and you can send that to the storage. You talked about the separation. There are farms that do separate and they compost and they put that separated material, they put it in a covered building and a compost. I hear it reaches within 2 weeks, the internal core temperature of that compost can be over 150 degrees. And it kills a lot of the bacteria, and you can reincorporate that material then as bedding. And they say it's just as comfortable as sand bedding. I know there's I'm not an expert in cow comfort, but just getting feedback from other producers and engineers that work on these, I hear good things about recovered manure solids for bedding.
Yeah, you hear that, and then I've also had guys tell me who do. I've never really had much experience with recovered manure bedding, but I've had guys tell me it's better to use it like it's separated and it hits the ground. The fresher, the better. That's what some guys will tell you.
Really?
I don't know. That's all.
I don't either. Like I say,
I think it might be one of those. It's every farm is different. And it's, hey, this works for our farm. We did it this way, and it did that. I don't know. It's just
right.
So it's funny you say you hear it works great if it sits, and then I've heard people tell me it works great right as soon as it hits off the conveyor. We scoop it up and throw it in the stall. So,
and that's where I'm going to use that word again. Network.
Yeah.
Network. If you're hearing this podcast and you're interested in manure storage, you know what I would say? Call your local soil and water district. Say I'm interested. Is there one I can go look at?
Yeah.
Can you set me up? Maybe talk to the farm. Can you? I'd be happy. I'd to call like I'd call you. And Eric, is it okay if Joe Smith comes by? He's interested. He's not sure. Can they just ask you some questions?
Yeah.
Start networking. Start asking questions. Because like you say, it doesn't happen overnight. We can't build these in a month or 2 months. It's really a year process of planning, designing. How are we going to do it? Then applying for the grant, getting the grant. After you get the grant, we have to make a contract with the state. So we put together a plan of work, And then until we get a contract from the state saying, okay, you have the money, the grant's been awarded, but now you actually have the money, and Soil and Water, here's the money you applied for the grant. It is now in this bank account that gets set up for this farm project. It's a year at least in the planning.
And I think I know just from personal talking with a lot of friends and other farmers about what did you build? Why did you build it? Would you build it differently?
Mm-hmm.
What doesn't work?
Yeah.
When you talk to people who've used them for years or have multiple, some guys have multiple pits, throughout satellite pits, whatnot, and you really get a lot of Did
you do that? Did you?
Oh yeah.
Knocked on some doors and.
Well, just friends from school.
And isn't that great?
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
I have a lot of, Tyler Beck, our neighbor, they move a lot of manure themselves. They do it basically all in house, and they have multiple pits. And so I ask him, why did you build it this way? Or how was your new pit? Or, and you get a lot of good information where, okay, let's try to build this so it's
or what would you do different?
Yeah,
maybe you thought it was perfect, but if you could redo it, would there be anything you change?
Because I think even we in our own, we told you we were going to do an earthen with a concrete floor. You did the grant, and then we got approved. And I said, well, no, never mind. We'll do it all concrete. It's like, well, you can do that. Just you're going to have to pay more out of pocket, which is like we're fine with that.
Right.
But we figured, you hear stories of. The guys that had those big boat agitators, they sometimes get just a little bit too close to the earthen wall, and it knocks a hole, could pop a hole where they hit concrete. It's going to bend a propeller before it breaks concrete wall. So,
and that is, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's okay to change designs. Always ask, reach out like you did with us. You say, hey, we want to change the style, the type. It was still approved. It was still an approved type of containment, manure storage, concrete, fine. We had that discussion, and you knew kind of up front, okay, the cost will go up. But, when we applied for the grant, we got a certain amount, and that's all I got to work with. I can't apply for more. I can't get more. I just have this amount to work with. And, we had that discussion. We just sent a quick email up to the state saying, hey, just so you know, on our application, it was earthen with a PE liner, but farmers chosen to go concrete. Just getting your blessing there. Yep, everything's fine with that. Okay. And it turned out to be no big deal. And
no, yeah. And we knew, we were happy with it.
That's
and
great.
We knew that we were going to have to cover it, but we were.
It's what you wanted to do.
That's what we wanted to do. And
yeah.
So it's, it was something else I was going to bring up. The, was it the concrete? I had something that was gone, but
it'll come back.
I find myself doing that more and more. Yeah.
Was it in the transfer line or something?
No, it had something to do with the earthen. I was gonna say in terms of leaking, I don't know of any that have they don't fail.
I'm not aware of any that have. Maybe some have. I'm just saying I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, I can't think of any. And I know even if you did have a failure, there's a tile typically in the bottom of these, and you can check the tile, and they say if you see any sort of non-water, manure, then that's like
you
a
got
fail
a problem
safe.
and you got to investigate.
Yeah, and I think I've heard of one place that had that issue. They checked it, and they had a little bit of manure, and it was an older pit. I can't remember who it was. I mean, I wouldn't say it anyway, but and they cleaned the pit out and they repaired it or whatever, and it was so it didn't cause any issues. It was because it
was a detection
worked.
system.
The
detection system worked.
So I think people need to realize that these things are well built, well engineered, and
all the planning you can do. You can never do too much planning. The more planning you can do up front, and investigating and talking and asking other farms how they like it, and then bringing in the soil and water district and the engineer and the farm, and okay, what are our expectations, and how do we want to how much management do I want in this, or do I want to just turn it over to the manure handler, and we bring in the manure handling company and say, okay, this is what we're doing, get their input. I always say, spend an hour. Get all the team players together, because boy, it's a heck of a lot easier to change a plant at that point than once you pour the concrete.
Yeah. Yeah, once they start putting up forms, and it's hard to...
It's a lot easier to erase pencil and paper than to jackhammer concrete.
Yeah. If you have a feeling in your gut that something's not right or something needs to be changed, it's never a bad thing to...
No.
You can always change your mind.
Exactly.
You don't want to live with a system that you end up being mad because you didn't...
Yeah.
You didn't change it, so...
Exactly. We want all the soil and water districts, we always work to see the success for the farm. Man, when you're happy, we know it's working, because then you're going to manage it, and you're going to take care of it, and you're going to optimize that BMP, and that's always our goal.
Yeah.
So by managing it, it's just improving the farm. This is your office. You deserve the best equipment and making sure everything's working right for the greatest efficiency. Because if you're not healthy and happy, what's the point?
Yeah.
What are you doing it for? You want to be healthy and happy with what you're doing.
Exactly right.
And everything flows from that.
Yeah.
Everything stems from that.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's very true.
Yeah. That calf barn you built, man, that thing's just dynamite. Look at how calf handling and care has come, and just a great facility.
Yeah, easy to work when, pretty efficient. It's just comfortable.
Comfortable, right?
Yeah, it's even cold days and cold winter days and hot summer days. It's comfortable in there. So
right on. Yeah,
I can't complain. I always figured too. My mom does all the calf feeding. Down the road, she's not gonna obviously be calf feeder forever. But if you were to hire someone, and you found someone really good who was a calf feeder, and maybe they had multiple job opportunities, and you say, well, you get to work in this versus
Great
you got to
point.
work,
right?
in a hutch with nothing against hutches, but just labor intensive more. It's
and you're going to be exposed to the elements while you're trying to feed or do the water or,
get in.
If you're not comfortable, you're going to be like, man, I want to get out of here and get warm.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. They said it.
But the calf kind of, doesn't get the fullest of attention, perhaps.
Yeah. If the person's not bought in, like there's nothing against hutches. Yeah. Hutches do really well. A lot of people. It's just in terms of the person. Yeah. Right. I figure, well, if they see that, maybe they're more apt to come work for me. It's kind of how you have to look at things.
You're
as time
right.
goes on.
You're so right.
So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
It's worth the investment because, like I said, I'll have to hire someone at some point.
Because it's also an investment in you.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. And healthy animals. So with all the changes you've seen, in terms of soil health and water quality, would you say it's been, with all the new practices and grants, do you think you can see a change in terms of the quality?
Absolutely. Farming is just so much, it's so much better. I mean, the skill sets that you're managing, the opportunities for better nutrient management, understanding now that soil health. So when you talk about health, you're implying something's alive. Only a living thing can have health, and understanding soil health now and bringing that to the front, and realizing our soils are a living medium, and the health of the soil can dictate the health of the plant, and requiring less nutrient because there's greater nutrient uptake, nutrient availability to the plant between the organisms in the soil and the plant roots communicating. Agriculture amazes me. The improvements that are being made, it's phenomenal. Back in the 70s when I was growing up, okay, we're going to be raising some sweet corn. Let's throw out 200 pounds nitrogen per acre, and you bought your bags of 15 fertilizer, and you went out and you broadcast, and then we do side dressing. We were doing the best we could with the tools that we had, and oh my goodness, now with fertilizer application, this is another podcast, but precision agriculture, precision management of pesticides, herbicides, fertilizer. I mean, wow. Look at the reduction. I always tell people agriculture has greatly reduced the amount of just general dispersion of these items because it cost. it costs to do it. And I haven't met a farmer yet that says, yeah, I just want to spend until I don't have any more money. I haven't met one yet.
Yeah.
It's about optimization. Why would I use any more than what I need?
Yeah.
And the tools for this management are just getting just phenomenal. What can be measured and what can be applied. And because your goal is to get that, 30 ton of corn silage to the acre or high 20s. Yeah, but that's your goal, right? It's
yeah.
tonnage.
Yeah. Tonnage. Yeah. Get the highest tonnage at the least amount of inputs.
At the least cost, right? And you understand those factors are how's the health of my soil? You know, what type, if I can use less nutrient because my soils are healthy now and the little bit of nutrient that I add, it gets 100% efficiency for uptake. I mean, that's where ag is going and continues to go. So we've seen great progress in soil and water districts. And of course, touting cover crops, understanding that soils with green, with living roots, I should say, soils with living roots growing, there's always that cycle of the organism to the soil, to the roots, to the plants. You know, it's just a great thing. I mean, growing up, I wasn't really aware of cover crops. You know, once you took a crop off, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
Wait till spring, I guess. You know, when you go out and you just put manure on, you put fertilizer on, and you repeat the process. And we'd plow and we disc and we drag and we pack and then we plant. You're on that field. I didn't realize how bad I was treating the ground. Yeah. But I mean, that's what I was taught and what we knew and what we weren't looking to, and no farm looks to beat up their resources. They rely on those resources, right? So yeah.
It's just did it because it worked.
It
made a nice seed bed. It makes a nice seed bed.
It does,
and
right?
It's just people didn't realize that. Yeah, it's no one's fault. It was just.
It's how it was done. It was a practice.
It's no different than anything else 40 years ago. There's a lot of things we did back then. Exactly. We had no idea the repercussions. That's just
I remember the first time. So the biggest thing that came out, I think, back in is when the Glencoe Soil Saver was a tillage tool that came out. It hit the scene, and it was like a chisel plow, and behind that were a row of discs. So no plowing. We're gonna chisel plow, and behind that was a gang of discs that would roughly smooth out the chiseled ground, and you might run over that then again maybe one more time with a color mulcher to really get a finer seed bed so it wasn't so rough. But when that Glencoe Soil Saver came out, everybody was like scratching their head like But then from that, you know, your brilliant tools were coming out and taking off with chisel plowing and fracturing that plow pan that had been created for all those years from the heavy plowing, right?
Yeah.
Busting up, and then, all of a sudden, crops are looking pretty good. Or if it's drier, I'm still getting some water movement through because I'm breaking that plow pan. And then, of course, it just took off from there with research and tillage, styles of tillage.
Well, I still find it funny today. We'll have, we do all basically strip till.
Yep.
And it does look ugly from about, May until early middle of June. You'll have corn coming up, and you'll still have our cover crop. We haven't sprayed it off yet.
Yeah.
We're waiting for a custom guy to come spray it. And we've had people call us up. Yeah, what is wrong with your corn? It looks awful. Like, what are you trying to do? And it's just like, no, it'll be fine. It's just, it's got to get sprayed, and corn's come out. We strip tilled it, and that's just the way it looks. And, you just ignore it. And sure enough, by July, you would never know that it just takes right off and looks beautiful. So it's just at first. I had other friends tell me,
mindset, right? Sometimes our mindset is
you're so used to seeing that nice, beautiful, spotless field with those little. It's beautiful. See those rows come up. I love that.
Beautiful
I love seeing that.
Yeah, brown field, right? Beautiful. And the corn coming up, not a weed in sight.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
the world is good.
The rows are right on, and ours
Yeah.
it's coming up, but it's covered with a weird canopy of this, that, and everything else. And I had a buddy, Chet Branton. I think you know of them.
Yeah, Donnie is dead, right?
Yeah,
Don Britton,
Don. Yeah. He told me, he said, now when you first start doing this, you just ignore it for like the first month because it's going to look awful, but it'll get better. Don't worry. Just ignore it. And I'm like, okay. And I saw what he means.
Right.
It didn't take me long to figure out, okay, just ignore it. And sure enough, it's by the middle of summer, you never know. So. And
I bet you with some of them heavy spring rains we can get, or early summer heavy rains, because you've got that, that ugly, right, that cover crop residue there, and your corn's coming up through, you get a heavy rain, you got some ground cover, you got some armor shield, soiled armor on the landscape. Your soil's going to stay in place. Now that nice, beautiful field that looks like this tabletop, right, nice and brown, and we got fluffy. The corn, fluffy, we got the corn coming, all of a sudden, sheet and rill erosion starting, and then ponding and pooling and flowing, and oh boy, there's my soil going.
There goes my topsoil.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it only takes 100 years to make an inch of topsoil. We can hang out that long, right? No. Hold it in place.
Yeah.
That's bank. That's bank right there.
Yeah. We've had hunters a couple of years ago. They were deer hunting or whatever, and they said to us, why are your fields not washed out? And we hadn't really been out in them. I can remember a couple of years ago, we got a bunch of rain after we got the corn. It was a year where it started raining in October and it basically didn't quit.
Oh,
this was like 4 years ago, and it didn't quit until basically it's all winter and into spring. It was like May.
Then it turned to snow. Yeah, then it turned back to rain again in the spring, and that
was like 2018 maybe. Anyway, the hunters that fall were like, how come your fields aren't washed out? Like all the other fields around here or other places, they're all washed out. And we're like, only thing we could think of is, we do cover crops on everything and we strip till, and that was enough to, from what we can tell, on these side hills that what you would think would wash out, and they were still intact in there.
Building that soil structure, right? Letting water move up and down the column.
Yeah.
Right on.
So.
Right on.
But
30 years ago, 40 years ago, we wouldn't.
You would have been laughed at.
Yeah, or you wouldn't be having the conversation because it just wasn't really looked into.
Yeah.
People, I think the mentality back in the 50s, 60s, 70s was a focus on yield and production, and how do you get that yield through fertilization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that was kind of
the
the mindset.
Yeah.
That was the mindset and how it was focused. And a lot of research was done, of course, too, on the agronomics of what the plant needs and how much can you make the plant grow. I mean, look at corn genetics.
Oh, yeah.
Just look at, so get away from the fertilization part. I mean, what, 120, 140 bushel per acre corn? I don't know. Maybe the Midwest, they were happy at 200 bushel per acre 30, 40 years ago. I mean, just look at genetics. And now we're understanding not only with genetics, but with the health of the soil. My friend told me a couple fields in Iowa pushed 500 bushel of corn per acre. They're starting to knock on that.
Yeah, incredible.
That threshold. It's very incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's agriculture and how it's changed and how it's just, there's room for so many people in agriculture. There's so many avenues.
And to get that 500 bushel, they're probably using less fertilizer or some more. What's the word? Not concentrated, selected. They're selecting so much NPK. It's not just a broad spectrum. It's like, I want this many pounds. I want this.
It's tailored. It's metered.
Tailored. It's
tailored,
and the soil gets what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
It probably use less inputs than we did 30, 40 years ago, and get 2-3 times the yield, which is crazy. I can't name another industry that can do that.
I can't think of any. I really can. Milk is what per hundredweight now? Average. I just don't know. 16, 17, 18, $20 a hundred. What's milk
price?
Yeah. Price.
Right now, you're in the like $20, $21 range.
Okay,
it's good.
That is good. That is good. The point for asking that question was over the course of the last 20, 30 years, the price of milk hasn't really exorbitantly changed all that much, what you're getting per hundredweight.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do you then maximize, how do you balance the checkbook on the farm? You have to watch the margin, what it's costing you to make that. And that's what I tell people. Farmers don't put on a lot of fertilizer. They don't over fertilize and want that, nutrient running into the stream, running into the lake. They want it on their field.
Yeah, it's a waste.
It is. It's costing them, so much money to do that. A bag of seed corn.
Oh.
Right? What? $400, $500
Yeah,
for I know different brands, different cost. That's your baby. You want to optimize every kernel kernel in that bag, and to optimize what that kernel is going to do in that bag, you want to optimize the nutrient that kernel can grow from. You're not looking to waste at all. Everything has to be measured and metered. It's the difference between make or break, right? That's your checkbook, it's your savings account. That's what the public needs to understand about all this.
Yeah, yeah. We, like you said, we keep harping back to necessity drives innovation. Like, how do you, if you aren't getting more for your milk, like, you got to either have cows, figure out how to make a cow make more milk by feeding her better, or genetics, and that's what we've done. No different than we've increased grain and crop yields, we've increased milk yield in the same sort of fashion. Genetics, quality, what we understand how they biologically function and how to feed the beast inside them to, they're not the beast, but the bacteria inside them to help them produce high quality quantity milk. So
cows like a NASCAR. Yeah, it's like a NASCAR. I mean, you are optimizing that unit.
Yeah,
and its performance. Nobody shows up to NASCAR with an old Chevy Vega and like, well, let's run her and see what she does.
Or it'd be like going to a NASCAR and they're putting in just like regular unleaded 87 fuel. Like,
that's a better analogy. Yeah.
You're putting in, it might have a little water in it, but she'll burn it off. Yeah. And then you wonder why
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
You aren't going to win a NASCAR race by putting crap in the fuel tank.
That's exactly right.
Or punching holes in
the
tires.
You won't be racing long.
No.
How about that?
Yeah,
exactly.
So,
yep.
Anyway, maybe we'll quickly segue here. Yeah, we got a little bit of time.
Okay.
I guess in terms of what, you personally, like, what's your kind of fun things, hobbies do you have, or do you like to do, or?
Well, so for the last 22 years, it's been raising my daughters. My wife and I, we have two great daughters. Just watching them play sports has been so much fun. So that's always a passion. It's always great to watch what they're doing, watch them grow. But when I do get a little bit of time to be me, I love woodworking. I'll putter around in my garage. I love gardening, farming. I would work down on my aunt and uncle's farm. Just being outdoors, just being engaged in life. It's a great day when my hands get dirty and my muscles ache. I feel like I've lived. I've lived. I took in life today. This is great, You
sleep well that night, don't you?
You sleep great. My aunt had a great saying. She says, if you want to make any food, anything you're eating tastes great. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Fresh air and hard work first.
That is very true.
Isn't it? Yeah. It makes it taste like a steak.
Yeah. When you're physically like exhausted and you're like, I want, like, you're not just hungry. It's like, I need something. That's
exactly.
that's a great,
Vince Lombardi, I liked his quote. No pillow is soft as a clear conscience. Good hard day's work. That's a good way to clear your conscience.
Yeah.
and you sleep well, eat well, food tastes better. It all gets around gratitude too. That's what I love about farming, Eric, is you meet great people like yourself. It's a network of just a great community, people who are supporting agriculture, the farm bureaus, the farmland protection boards, Cornell Cooperative Extension, farmers yourselves. I mean, it's just such a great community to be involved in. So that's how I spend my spare time. Some days, if it's a rainy day, I'll go take a drive to a farm dealership and just look at the farm equipment and say, all right, what's new? What's going on here? Talk to the equipment salesmen. They're great people too. Love going into John Deere or Case IH and saying, well, what's new this year? What are you guys looking at for tillage improvements? What are the farmers requesting from you? Man, great conversations start there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. How about you? What do you do when you need to become Eric? What do you windsurfing, skiing? What?
Windsurfing. I've never done that. No,
I don't know.
I'm definitely. I like to ski. I've been so far once this year. Tried to go a few times. I have my own skis and all.
You
that.
had to have gone this last snowstorm.
No, actually, I didn't.
Really?
So
I thought for sure.
I was in talks with some people about doing it, and then I got working late, and it just.
I hear you. Yeah.
It didn't work out.
Yeah.
Probably could have swung it, but it would have been. I don't have a season pass, so I have to pay every time I go. And
I hear you. Yeah.
Suddenly, it's $37 for the last 2 hours of skiing, which I think last year was like $25. So that's jumped up quite significantly. So it's like you get there by maybe 7:30. Is it worth paying $37, almost $40 to get a half a dozen rides? It is for me because I don't go very often. But it's like so I ski. Like to go work out. That's probably my biggest thing. Lift weights. That's
very cool.
That's a thing where I can go, and if I've had a rough day or I just kind of zone everything out. I completely I can disassociate from any crap I've had to deal with during the day. Yeah. And just if I'm not tired from the farm, I'm really tired. And that's a great feeling. You come home and if you get that the next day, your muscle. I love that feeling of feel like you really you did a hard day's work, but it's like I still have energy. I'm gonna push my body even harder and see what we can get done. Yeah,
that's cool.
So stuff like that. That's probably my biggest things I do, and then do like this. This is fun.
This is great.
So it's kind of a little bit of a break and
right. I like. I'm developing a new another appreciation, I guess, for agricultural history. I like getting books, ag history, how things were done, what was agriculture in different parts of the state, how was the state agricultural scene changed, all that's fascinating too. All that kind of ties together. My cousin gave me some nice old ag tools from his farm and his father and uncle's farms, and I like getting out there and cleaning it up, just taking a little bit of sandpaper and just cleaning it up. I've got an old walking corn planter, so when you planted corn, jab it in the ground, take a step. When you push the handle forward, it would dispense a couple seeds.
Yeah.
and then shut back, click, right?
Yeah, we have a few
I think
of
they're
those.
called walking planters. I think that was the name. And it's really great. What I like doing is cleaning those up and hanging them around the garage. And then when my daughter's friends would come over when they were little or anybody, they see them looking at it and, well, what's that? That's a corn planter. That plants corn. Then you got to walk them through what corn is sometimes and how it grows and what it. But it's just great. It's good conversation starters, and I like looking at old equipment too. I mean, who doesn't? It's fun.
It is neat
to see where we come from, right?
Yeah. It's something about that. I really like seeing the old equipment that's all been redone.
Oh
those are really cool.
Freshened up and repainted.
It's nice. This was a workhorse back in the day. Yeah,
it was the thing, right?
50 horse tractor. It did all the it did what they needed to do back then. Today it'd be like, they'll run the tedder.
So we went from the horse to the tractor, right? Yeah. Steel wheeled. Then Harvey Firestone comes along and says, put rubber on it. It'll run a lot smoother. So now we got tires on our tractors. This is phenomenal. I can be on this tractor and not have a backache when I get off. Then, we come to our bigger tractors. We get cabs. We get that technology with air conditioning now and heated cabs, greater rides. Hydraulic. Oh my gosh, right? PTOs, from manual? Yeah, exactly. And now look, I see, this bothers me. This is my beef. Autonomous tractors. Case IH New Holland has come out with this. It's like a tank. with no operator platform.
Oh, you couldn't even drive if you wanted to?
I don't see where it's accessible to a driver. I mean, these were just images I was looking at on the Case IH website. It's autonomous. It's take a 4-wheel drive tractor, articulate tractor, cut the cab off. So the hood comes up.
Yeah.
Just cut that cab right off. Just cut that right off. And then it bends right to the back, right, with the hitch and the whatever you're pulling. That's what they're experimenting with. Autonomous tractors.
Man.
Yeah, I just think it's sacrilege, man, not to be on a tractor. Yeah, needs an operator. Sorry.
That's one of the most fun times of the year is when you go from working in the barn all the time to suddenly spring starts and you get to hop in the tractor and go do field work.
Feel that ground, right?
Something
underneath
different.
you.
Yeah, it's something different. It's
Get
fun
the
to
views.
watch. Yeah, or mowing hay, watching. There's something about mowing hay, watching the hay go down. It's
right. How about the smell of that?
Yeah.
Right. That fresh cut. I mean,
can't beat it.
No, that's engaging life. It's understanding the cycle. Yep.
It's kind of, isn't it funny how it's a human thing. I've never met someone who doesn't like the smell of fresh cut hay.
Neither have I.
Obviously there's something that goes way back when that it's a sweet smell and there's a reason for it, I guess. Not that we would eat it, but
no. Or when you're handling it in January and you're feeding it and you get that smell and that sensory just triggers back the memory of the day you mowed it or processed it, baled, chopped, whatever. Yeah.
Or if you find a skunk in it, that'll...
Oh, that's a real joy. Yeah. Jeez.
Especially in the small squares. You ever had that happen?
I have not found a skunk yet. I found other critters, but not a skunk, thank goodness.
We had a skunk one time, this was years ago, and we sent it up to the haymow, I think as a joke, and it got up there and it landed. Obviously it was dead, but it stunk. And I think someone mowed it away. Someone stacked it away and sealed it.
How? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was in the bale and it still stunk.
Right.
And then that next spring or summer when we go to take the bales out as we're pulling, it was like an airtight seal. You open it up and it was just whoosh, there it is again. The stunk smell was right there, like it had just been alive yesterday.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, that was I think, like I said, I think it got sent up as a joke. And then maybe the guy stacking it as a joke said, well, we're just going to bury it and get rid of the smell that way.
Yeah, this will be a surprise for the poor person that's got to expose it.
So, but yeah. But not all. I think I remember that one time. But
right.
You never know.
I've never heard of that before. That's a first. That's funny. Oh, geez. That's good. But
anyway, I guess, is there anything else you wanted to touch on or you...
Network. Whether you're 8 years old or join 4-H, get involved in FFA. If you're 80 years old, keep networking. Be involved in Farm Bureau, Farmland Protection Board, local CCE. Always be involved. Learning is fun. It's continuous. Networking, this to me, this is community, what we're doing here too. This is what keeps community strong. Is good conversation, sharing ideas. Constantly do that. You find good friends. You find good passion to follow knowledge. Keep learning. Stay curious. Stay involved. Stay in the game. Yep.
Well put.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
If you have any, is there a contact, like an email if someone wanted to get a hold of you? Or
sure.
If you don't want to, that's fine. I just thought
that's totally
you have a work email or something. Or you can tell me off. If you want to, you can tell me and I can put it in the...
We can do that too.
And I'll write it in the little description. So if you want to find Paul's email, it'll be there in the description. Just click down below. You should find it.
And, we have a website. You just put in Tompkins County Soil and Water, and it'll come up, and you can click on that, and then you have our contacts and you have our phone numbers. There's that. We have a Facebook page. We love putting up pictures with farmers' permissions, of course. Projects that we've done, or just stream bank projects we're doing, buffers. We post those too. So there's many ways to get in touch with us.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can call us right at the district. Our our number is 607-257-2340, and I'll put that in a text and email, and you can put that on the podcast. Yeah, we're right in the phone book too. So
great people to work with. I can tell from experience.
You're too kind. You make it easy, Eric. You make it easy, man.
You make life easy for us too, Paul. You can't not like working with you, Paul. You're a very optimistic and cheerful person. So
I appreciate that.
You make it fun.
I'm only a product of the people I work with. So, hey.
But, I guess, we'll sign off here. And like I said, thank you, Paul, for coming on. And
thank you for having me.
It's been a great time. And
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Good farming, everybody.
Yeah.